There's something about you, your voice is all in my head. All in my head, all in my head. I cannot stop thinking about what we did. Oh, what we did. I just need one more night to beat it up. One more night to beat it up. Your body keep calling, calling my name. Just one more night to beat it up. One more night to beat it up. Have our own private party. Finish what we started, girl.
What's up, guys? I'm Tiffany Tony, and you're watching another episode of Lipstick Tea. I got my bad bitches on the couch with me. And a couple of cuties in some chairs.
Why I'm not a bad bitch?
Okay, you're a bad bitch too. You're a bad bitch too.
You're right.
Everybody here is a bad bitch.
Because the cancers is the bad bitches. Don't at me, Scorpio.
Scorpio, like,
We gonna get you.
don't fuck with a Scorpio.
So she's feeling real tactical today. To my right, I have the lovely Margot.
Ew. Hi, I'm Margaret Brown. I've been here for a while. I forgot what to do.
Just be you, boo boo. Just be you. Miko.
Miko rounds.
She's too tired to go rounds today. D-Ran.
Hi, D-Ran.
Kitty cat.
Hi, Mikel.
Hi, I'm Michael, and I'm here.
I missed you guys. I feel like I haven't seen you in forever.
A year.
It's been a while.
Here,
Did you guys miss
queer.
us? We're here and we're queer.
We're queer.
And I'm not wearing a brassiere.
No Brazil. He's birthing bitches.
Did you do a whole
Oh. Well, I can't do
I
that.
would, but
keep her
today ain't the time.
inside.
Yeah. Did you guys have a good weekend? For starters, it's Monday. How was the weekend for you?
The best.
You guys ran into each other at the club and didn't invite nobody.
Right?
I was working, but I got to pick up Margot. You know, she jumped on me, wrapped her legs. The dudes was jealous. They was like, you bitches jumping on you.
They were thought I was just jumping on some random girl at the club, which is fine.
She had to explain to her friend. She was like, I know her.
They were like,
It was good. We had a good weekend. It's fun.
I went to the
You had a
club.
crazy weekend. We don't even
oh wait,
talk about
tell us
it on
about
TV.
your weekend. What happened?
What's that, this weekend?
Well, now you don't know.
Oh, he'd be crazy at the club.
Oh!
But that wasn't this weekend,
No, that
was
wasn't
it?
this weekend.
Oh,
no,
okay.
When somebody, I had end up,
He was almost in a threesome.
He said, look, how much of my business am I going to put out?
I had some nice sexual appetites served.
So
to
they
me
were
on
they
this
were
floor.
sexual appetizers?
Yes.
Okay,
On the
hors
dance
d'oeuvres.
floor. On the dance floor.
Hors d'oeuvres.
Aperitif.
Hors d'oeuvres. Snacks, if you
Sexual
will.
snacks. So, all right, I want to ask you guys a question. How do you feel about straight actors playing queer, trans, lesbian roles in TV and film?
Straight actors playing queer and trans lesbian.
Yeah.
That's a very
Why?
complicated question to me.
Why? Explain why. Why is it
Because it's like saying that gay and lesbian actors have to play gay and lesbian
That's what I was
roles.
going to say right there. That's exactly what I was about to say.
Because that's a slippery slope. Because as actors, as people in entertainment, you want to have the range to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah,
And-
but that's not the culture that we're just in right now. We're not. That's like me saying, I've gotten sent out for a handful of Latino roles, and once I find out, it's like I was reading a side the other day, and it was like me being a warrior, saying I'm the best. Latinas, we're strong, and I was like, yo, low-key, I'm not Latina, and I'm not gonna submit for this role,
Right. Yeah.
Because I don't deserve it. So I feel like
Next question I was going to ask, is it the same as the whole race thing? Because think about it, when we're watching films that depict
That's what I'm
biblical
saying.
times,
I feel
and
like-
you're seeing Gerard Butler play somebody that's supposed to be a man from the Middle East who is
I feel like
biblical
utilize
figure.
the
Is it
community.
the same thing?
Utilize a community that is there, and if you can't find somebody, great. But we're already penalized people for whitewashing roles. Now, why not then just? I mean, I get it. You want to be able to play any role, and you want to be able to have variety. And us as an actor, we should be able to step into any sort of
Right.
human experience. and
I
that
feel
is our
like it
job.
depends. It depends on the role. Like I don't think a straight person should be playing Marsha P. Johnson.
Okay, there is a difference. There's a difference. Your sexuality, that's something that you can show behavior-wise. My skin color cannot change. So when it comes to being an ethnic group, I can't change it. If I can't change that I'm black. There's nothing you can do unless you want to paint my skin, and then that's a fucking problem. You can't do that.
Whiteface.
Like, you can't do it. But when it comes to that, exactly, you don't want to have a lesbian. So now, every role I play, I have to be a lesbian.
No,
but is it?
So why is it okay for me to play a straight person, but they can't play a gay person?
Because right now I'm seeing two girls on a network TV show that I know are best friends in real life, and they're trying to portray a lesbian relationship, and there's no fucking chemistry. Like, if you've never made love to a woman, if you don't know how,
then that's their acting skills.
Yeah,
so they need better acting skills. I don't think that has to play with it.
Meanwhile, Armie Hammer and Timothy Chalamet acted the shit out of Call Me By Your Name. Both of them being straight men.
That's the only one I remember is Brokeback Mountain.
How do you feel about this, Steven?
I think that, to Miko's point, is that you can't compare, not everything can be compared, skin color or race and sexual orientation can be compared on every single level. The reason why is because, one, you have to see, right? I see what your racial background is or what your skin color is off. That's not something you can hide. Your sexual preference is not something I have to know unless you divulge that.
Right.
So because of that nature, them two things are not on the same page or should be equal on every single situation.
So it's apples and oranges is what you're saying.
In this situation. So I do think a person's sexual orientation has nothing to do with their ability to act, right? Now, how we see them, because acting is a visual thing. Medium that it does mean something if you're not Asian playing an Asian person, right? Or with Asian context, because it's a visual medium. But your sexual orientation is not doesn't have to be a visual thing.
Right.
So I don't think that it matters.
I'm sorry. No, I feel that, I understand both sides of this argument, if there is one. And I think that I agree with what you said in terms of, just because I'm a lesbian doesn't mean that I should have to be only cast in lesbian roles. But I do think that there are some roles, as you said before, that are prominent queer, roles that somebody that is queer should have the opportunity to live out that historical moment. Like, I just think there's certain roles that should be
like
designated.
transgender. So that's something I always wonder. Like, for a transgender role, does a person who is non-transgender, like Pose, for example, would that be offensive if a non-transgender person played the role? Or if they went to Laverne Cox and be like, hey, we have a role, but it's a male role, would you mind? You know what I'm saying? Like, then it kind of, when you start getting to real slippery situations.
So I was at one of trans storytelling at the SAG Foundation. I saw like a talk on it, and they were saying, the best place to get to is for, a trans woman to be just in a role of a woman role and not have to be about a trans story or like identify as a trans character, that they are just a female waitress at this restaurant, or, they are, a boss at a CEO at a company.
To where their sexuality doesn't even matter.
We don't want to
sexuality and transgender is two different things. So those are two different things. And so in that case,
sexuality.
People may kill me. I don't agree with that.
Okay.
Here's the reason why I don't agree with that. It's because I still think, going back to the episode we talked about labels and boxes and all these type of things, that we need to have some type of structure for kids when they're watching things, that they understand situations. So I don't mind transgender people playing other roles, but we have to understand, like, so little Tommy can understand what this is, or what's happening here, or what's happening. Like, this is a transgender woman, and it's fine that this is a transgender woman, but let's never confuse a transgender woman with a cis woman. You know what I'm saying? Or a transgender man with a cis man.
But I feel like that is.
Do you think that really confuses a child? Does it really matter? And I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I think if they can pass as a cis woman,
like if they
God bless them. There have been people
be.
weeks into their, a couple months into their transformation, like, people have thought they were a cis woman their whole life, because that was like.
I knew. There was this young boy on Instagram, and I guess when he came out young as gay or whatever, that's how he was portrayed. But then he started growing his hair out, but he had a sister. And when I looked at them, to me, he looked more feminine. And his mom allowed him to do like top surgery. I think like maybe his sophomore or junior year. He's
high school?
Yeah, he was a social media influencer. But I think maybe it was just
trying to get top surgery
when he was graduating. I know when he was graduating, he looked more like she now is, and I feel like she naturally looked like that when she was still
Right.
I guess a young man, because when I first saw her, her features were very feminine. So when the transformation started happening, it was just like she looked
amazing,
like a cis woman. Like I would have just thought that's what she was.
That brings up another topic. You guys watch the news or at least listen to it in some form or another. You see it on social media, and violence is so prominent in our culture against people in the queer community. And I know we talked about this maybe a couple months ago, but I want to get your feedback and just share your experience as a person in the queer community with either violence that you've experienced or violence that you've witnessed and how that affected you.
I personally haven't experienced any violence. I need to knock on wood somewhere.
Have you witnessed?
I don't know why I looked at him immediately.
I know,
right?
But I think in my experience, there's been more violence in the queer community
Amongst ourselves.
Talk to me about that.
I mean, just because, like any community that has experienced oppression,
there's tension.
And we kind of tend to take it out on each other because it's the safest route to take it out.
Yeah.
But obviously that doesn't discount or invalidate the violence that people experience from people outside of the community. Obviously, especially, trans women of color experience the most violence towards them.
I have a question because since you brought up trans, we brought that situation up, and we now understand in today's time that the transgender journey is not necessarily reflective of a sexuality. Those are two different type of things. That we all saw the Dave Chappelle car joke situation.
I didn't see it.
No?
No,
Okay.
I haven't watched it yet.
So one of the things that it made me start to think about when you start talking about violence is because it is a big thing. But I wonder, is it because we're putting people in the group that does not necessarily need to be in the group? They need to have their own group with their own set of rules that they can thrive.
Can you explain the joke? We haven't. Wait, what was the joke?
So basically, he was just saying that transgender, at the end of there's pieces to the joke, but the basic bottom line of the joke is that transgenders get like the bottom of the totem pole in the LGBT community, right? That's basically what was going to. And bisexuals are looked at as kind of like the gross ones because they want, they can't understand.
They want to
lesbians
dabble
and gay people, but people who identify as lesbian, gay, as like the prominent top notch of in the gay community.
I'm royalty, bitch.
That's really basically what his joke broke down to, right? And I thought it was very accurate, and especially as me being a bisexual man, I thought it was very good depiction. But it started to make me think about transgender being in the LGBT community if it's not a sexuality.
Right.
Like, how does that make sense to be?
I see what you mean.
You see what I'm saying? So
it's more of a gender choice than a sexual preference.
So does it belong in the same cohort? Or are we doing it a disservice by putting it in this cohort? Not trying to ostracize, but are we doing it a disservice by putting it in this cohort if it's not a sexuality thing?
I can see. I get what you're saying.
Valid point. And somebody else asked me this question. They actually wrote me on Instagram and asked, should bisexual people be in their own category, gays be in their own category, and then, transgender in their own category. So it's three separate things. But I think that society and our culture is just so overwhelmed by it for some reason that they feel the need to just kind of
and keep throwing letters
clump us all together. So.
And the difference between the two, maybe because I'm bisexual, I'm not for sure, and I'm not transgender, is that the gay, being lesbian, being transgender, bisexual and pansexual are things that a person does not have to know unless you open yourself up to them, right? So that's something that you can consider that choice versus not choice. That's a debate I'm not trying to get into. But when you talk about like being transgender, being black, being being a woman, those are things that people not have to see that's evident when they look at you.
Absolutely.
So that's why I've been thinking about that a lot lately since that joke came out. Like, are we doing the transgender community a disservice?
What do you think? We want to know. Right. Slide in our DMs. Respectfully, of course.
Be dirty. I don't think I like that one. I did like everything you said, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
And then for the violence, I agree that it's inside of our community a lot. I know
you almost got into it with somebody.
I noticed I get into it with gay males a lot, and I feel like it's weird because we want to say, like, even women, I don't know, that are men at the club who dress in drag or whatever, like, men feel like if they are in the club, if they're presenting more feminine or if they act more feminine, that it's okay to fight with a woman. It's not. Like I get like a lot of men, and I've even doing like security or whatever, the men have had to get into it with men. Even some men who don't even act more feminine, who are the more dominant males.
What do you mean?
Like
gay men,
like they'll be like a gay.
really
You know how they have
aggressive with
tops and bottoms, and usually the bottoms are considered more feminine than the tops. So even men who are more tops have gotten into me at the club, and they just feel like it's okay. And those same men won't argue or fight with the male guards or won't get into it with the man, but they'll try to fight me, and I just be like, what? Now I ain't scared of nobody.
Do you think it's because you're an alpha, which doesn't justify it at all, but I'm just for conversation's sake?
I don't know, because at the club I come off really nice most of the time. There's only been two times where I just be like, look, bitch.
But you can be nice and still have an alpha energy,
I guess,
you know what I mean?
I don't know, but I just feel like in our community, I feel like I get into it more with the gay men.
No, but one thing I've noticed is that I think that chivalry in the queer community is dying, and it really devastates me. I mean, I've had gay men will literally walk in front of me and just let the door slam on me, and I'm like traumatized. Like I'm like, nobody go hold the door.
But we're equal.
Like I'm still a
part of
woman,
the people.
but I hold the door for people no matter who's coming in behind me. And I'm like,
I do. I hold it for men, women.
I do too.
So, and I just
black,
think,
white, I don't care. I hold the door.
And I just
if you don't say thank you, though, I will be like, you're welcome.
I know you. Yeah, you've said that before. You've been like, I think we've had this conversation.
I just told a Caucasian woman, God bless you, the other day, and she just kept sipping her tea. I said, you're welcome. And she was like, oh, I said thank you. No, you didn't. I was watching you. You didn't say thank you.
She's like, I take it back.
I think, but when you're talking about like the people getting into it, I noticed that gay men get into it a lot, and it's usually, not usually in my experience, to make sure I put that note on here, it's usually more feminine men that get into it with more feminine men, and I don't necessarily think it's like, a male-female thing. I think it's like energy. It's like feminine energy. Just it's hard for feminine energy to coexist together. That's why females have a hard time.
And I'm not too feminine. That's why I don't get.
You do have more of a masculine.
I would not say that you're. I would
you're
not.
Feminine,
no, but
you do
feminine
have.
No, what I'm saying is that he's talking about the feminine energy, and most of the people consider my energy kind of masculine. So I feel like I don't be bitchy with girls. Like a lot of, like even when I had people working under me, a woman was like, oh my God, you're such a sweet supervisor, you're nice. And I'm like, why do I have to be bitchy to you?
Yeah,
like,
I think that's how more feminine men automatically
people.
get into it. Now, this is just my observation, get into it with women a lot more. When I talk to other men, they be like, the gay community is very catty and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I don't see that stuff. I don't get it. But I'm also, I have some feminine tendencies, but I don't have a feminine mind, a predominantly feminine mindset as well.
No, I feel like I have a very masculine energy as well. Like I don't feel like I have a very soft energy. I think
you switch back and forth.
I think you're a Scorpio.
I think you're a Scorpio.
Scorpios are like
Because I think that
really, I saw a thing that says we're just gremlin with butter knives.
with butter knife.
Yeah.
gremlins with butter knives? Fucking weird.
I think about.
But I think that it's there's some accuracy in that because, but I think it's also due to the fact that any oppressed community are relegated to a certain parameter.
Yeah.
And
you fight and argue with who you have access to.
Right.
Like, let's be real.
Stop having access to me then, guys.
And I also think it's because like when you're relegated to a certain parameter, there's not a whole lot of room, and you get stressed out because you're like, well, I don't have room.
Right, because too many people in the group. That's what I'm saying about to go into the transgender thing.
Fighting for space. That's really what it is. Is that
fight to be seen,
you're fighting to be
for
seen,
space, and it's like, oh, if there's two of us that are the same, well, I'm going to fight to be seen over you.
Over you, and I think
Who you ringing that bitch bell
I think
for,
that
bitch? You the bitch. Put it back down.
No, you guys, this is great conversation, but just for time's sake, I want to move on to the next topic. You know,
I'm gonna ring that bitch bell on you.
So, okay, you guys know, or maybe you don't, that Janelle Monae recently came out as pansexual. And so what I want to know is, did you guys see that coming?
What is pansexual?
Yes.
So I consider myself pansexual, which is like, you fall in love with who you fall in love with. They could be trans, they could be woman, they could be...
The falling in love with the soul, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Which is different than bi, who
Right.
just fall in love with cis men and cis women.
Exactly. It
Pansexual means you are non-binary, trans male, and trans female, right? Why are you looking at me like a stank face?
Meaning I'm not.
I didn't mean
not-
so. I don't know. I was listening.
This is just my face.
We'll have you Google it. We'll have you Google it tonight. But so my question is,
God.
what celebrities do you guys expect to come out of the closet in 2020, or that you hope will come out the closet in 2020?
Shawn Mendes.
Who?
No, I've been hearing that. No.
Shawn Mendes. I actually had a conversation
Our producer.
this morning.
How about our producer Steven?
Steven. Lesbian.
He's a lesbian.
Steven's a lesbian.
Steven's coming out as a lesbian this year.
You know, I get annoyed with that only because I just feel like it's not everybody's fucking business what I am. I shouldn't have to, like, even when they had this little Netflix things for the NFL players, like, it's about you playing football.
Yeah.
Or if you're an actor or an actress, it's about you being an actor or an actress. I don't need to know who you fucking is sleeping with. It's not my business. I don't need to be walking around here saying this is what I'm doing. If you want to, fine, but I just feel like they make too many headlines about it. Like, this is just, and then we get mad. Like, I feel like as a community, we get upset that that's what's pointed at first. But then as a community, we want everybody and their mama to put their shit on Front Street first. Let me know if you're a lesbian. Tell the whole world. But then you get mad for them doing that to us.
Rihanna
like, you know?
to holler at me. It's like,
No, she's pregnant.
That's a little rumor. That's a little rumor that got going on.
Not real.
No, it is.
That don't mean nothing. When as soon as the baby's born, I'm sliding in their DMs.
And I mean, I know a lot of lesbians that's pregnant.
Yeah.
Right. I have a lesbian
That's what the woman's body's made
I
for.
just feel like Hollywood is such an interesting thing because sometimes, like, there are so many fake relationships. Thank you, God bless you. There's so many, like,
God bless. She said it and you said thank you.
Things for, I don't know, people put, like, stuff out there for their image to create publicity.
Like who?
I'm not
She ain't gonna name
I'm not going to say.
It
Doesn't even matter, but it's just difficult when you're like, oh, I know you and I see what you're doing and
You're like,
that's
I just
not
saw
what
you
you're having an
sucking
interview about.
dick.
Right.
We were literally just talking about this, like, no, that's not true. That's fake.
You were just sucking dick at the bowling alley.
Well, in today's time,
That's why I shouldn't even be on Front Street. It shouldn't even matter who you fucking and sucking.
well, in today's
Fuck 'em and
time,
suck 'em in the bedroom.
I want to be very
bowling alley.
real that entertainment industry is becoming overly saturated. It's a lot of options, and it's very hard to stand out.
Stand out.
And so people are trying to climb or clam onto whatever is popular right now for people to, and being queer right now is very popular. Being a black woman is very
Dark
popular.
skin,
And so I'm not calling it right. I'm not saying it is right to do that.
course.
But I totally understand when people got to eat and people got to pay bills.
The Kardashians also made a huge empire out of putting everything that they do out there. So people, in order to stay relevant, feel like, oh, I'm gonna keep feeding you shit.
And it's like, when does it end?
When real TV disappeared and we got reality TV, that's when fucking TV went down the shithole. Entertainment went down the shithole, and all this shit because nobody got to really have any skills. I ain't heard the last person that went to
reality star. I like reality television.
Grabbing his breast.
You
He's
were
like,
on
I'm a reality star.
I was on a reality star.
I
I just feel like this is the thing. Like it became less of your skill.
Yeah.
That's why they're grabbing into all these little things. Oh, I'm gay because honestly, if you could act like Will Smith, it wouldn't matter.
But even with Will Smith being a phenomenal actor, people were still trying to pry and figure out his sexual preference.
Yeah, he was.
His relationship.
I'm gonna tell y'all his situation. It's me.
But people still are like, what's going on in this marriage? Like, Jada's real masculine.
It's okay, I'm Jada too. Listen. They preference.
That whole family is.
I know where they live.
They preference is me. Okay, Jada. Holla at me.
All right, y'all. This has been really, really, really fun. I love you guys so much. This was a great episode. Thank you guys so much for watching another episode of Lipstick Tea. Follow us, like, subscribe, comment, slide in our DMs, and let us know what you want to talk about and how you feel about the topics that we discussed on this episode today. I am Tiffany Tony. You can find me on Instagram at Tiffany_Tony_TV.
I am D-Ran Anderson. You can find me everywhere on social media at D-Ran Anderson, DEERAN, or DRanAnderson.com.
Hey.
Miko_rounds on Instagram, Miko_rounds.
Because she gon' round, baby, she gon' round. I'm Margot Graff. You can follow me at It's Margot Graff. And,
And I guess I'm Michael. And you can find me on all social media at official Michael. That's official MYKELL.
He's official.
Little DMX bark for you.